Okay, we are live again. Hello, everybody. Hope that you can see me and you can hear me. I'm here with the final session of gardening in your classroom. Excuse me, I'm just making sure my phone is quiet so that it's not going to bother us during the session. So the fifth and final session of gardening in your classroom for elementary teachers, a series of free workshops. We are here today to do a review of the entire 4 days of information sessions that were jam-packed and gave you a lot of really good planning and practical information. We are going to go through your questions, and if you are here live, you can, and you haven't had a chance to send me your questions, you can comment. If you're on Facebook, if you're on LinkedIn or on YouTube, you can comment, and StreamYard is supposed to show me all of your comments in here. So ask. Okay, I hope that this, well, my screen went off for a second. I don't know, for some reason. I hope that you're still hearing me and you can see me. Let's cross our fingers, and hopefully this is not going to be a troublesome night. It just goes black and comes back. I don't know why that does that. Okay, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go on one of these platforms and see if it actually works. If I am live. One of these platforms. Yeah, I'm on Facebook right now, and it looks like that it is working. Okay. All right. Hopefully it was nothing. I don't know. In technology, right? So, okay. Where was I? So we're going to do a review of all of these sessions. I'm going to answer questions that I have received from you guys during the week. And we are going to talk about the OSS Classroom program that I'm opening doors to, registrations to, on Monday, and we're going to have the doors open for 1 week. So we're going to talk about that, what the program involves, what's the cost to it, and all of that, how it can help you most importantly, and answer all the questions we had about the program. I know that other than how much does it cost and what's in it, you probably haven't had a lot of questions because we haven't talked about it. You don't know what it is that I'm talking about. So if any questions came up for you during the session and you were watching me live, then please put it in the comments. And I know that this is Friday night, it's 6 p.m. You've had a really long week of work and you're probably tired, and most of you might not be live with me tonight, and that's totally okay. But after you watch the replay, and I talk about all the things that are involved in the OSS Classroom program, then you can, and questions will come up. Lots of questions will come up, I'm sure of it. Make sure that you email me, and my email address is, let's put that on the screen again, leilam@kidsgrowingcity.ca. I've been receiving a lot of questions about what we've covered throughout this week, and a few questions about the program that I'm going to be addressing today. But any other questions that come up, please reach out to me. I'm here for you, and I'm here to, talk about the program. That's all I want to talk about during the next week. So we can have sessions. I can go on Zoom calls with your principals, with your superintendents, with your parent council community, with anybody you need to bring on board and convince. I'm going to be here for you. And if they have any questions, please send their questions to me and I'm going to be answering. And that's all I'm going to be doing all week next week. Okay, so I'm here for you. Do not hesitate to actually reach out. Okay, Okay, so and then we are going to, yeah, talk about the OSS Classroom, and then we're going to talk about the giveaway. So you had homework in your workbooks throughout the week for all the 4 sessions on all the different 4 topics that we covered. And I just did a quick check before the session, and we have a lot of submissions coming through, and I was reading through some of them, and it just warms my heart so much that these series of workshops have gotten you and your mind on the right track, not track, on the right track about thinking about doing this in your classrooms. That's awesome. Yeah, your submissions are wonderful, amazing. So we're going to talk about the giveaway at the very end, and that would be it for today. Okay, so the review is going to be very, very quick because we've spent the whole week talking about these topics, and you have the workbooks, and the workbooks have the big ideas at the very beginning of each one of them. You have access to the recordings, obviously, on your class page. You have access to all of the presentation decks, so you can go back to them and refer to them, and review them for yourselves as you implement whatever you want to do in your classroom gardens this year. Uh, you can always email me with questions and all that. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on reviewing the week, just very, very quickly. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And so this was the first session, and this is the presentation of the first session. I'm going to go right to the part that we want to review together. Generally, what we talked about is why classroom gardening, and we also talked about space requirements for a classroom garden. Classroom gardening has many, many different advantages to school gardening, and definitely to not doing any gardening in your schools. But it is really, really important part of school gardening. Even back then in our school garden programs, we started always in the classroom anyway. So this is an essential part of any school gardening, and classroom gardening is the beginning of school gardening essentially anyway. So if you do a very good classroom garden, then you are a winner already. It has many, many values. It's extendable to growing at home with all the online learning and all that that's happening in the classroom. If you don't have to do a school garden, then it's extendable to that. It is extendable to a school garden because, as I was just saying, it is the beginning of the school gardening. And you know, you don't have to have a school garden with classroom gardening. So, and all the issues and problems that you usually have with classroom with school gardening, you wouldn't need to worry about it. And you can also connect it to your community as well. And just because you're growing in your classroom doesn't mean that it's not going to be connected to your community. It can be connected in many different ways. And then we talked about what you need in general to do classroom gardening. You need supplies and tools, you need space, you need time, and you need to have lesson plans and activities, and know essentially what to grow when and how. And we covered all of these during these 4 sessions. And in the session 1, oh, there you go. I don't know what happened there. I apologize for that. Let's try that again. Okay, that was weird. And we talked about space, and that you need 2 types of spaces for classroom gardening. You need your activity space and your caring station. And we talked about what these 2 workspaces or spaces, gardening spaces, are do actually require. So that's what we did in the first session. Let's go to, I don't know what that is. Let's go to the second session. Let's present that very quickly. We're going to go through that very quickly. So this was about tools and supplies, and we talked about everything that you need for the basics of growing in your classroom. Obviously, if there are other things that you want to do that are related to gardening, for example, if you want to, for example, build a bee water, for example, that requires specific things to have, tools and supplies and material to have. But this is what we covered for the basic of growing in your classroom. So we know that you needed 2 types of spaces, and every one of these needed specific tools and material. And we went through all of those in the second session, and we talked about every one of them, what type to get, and what type to avoid in some cases, all the different things that you need, which ones are better than some others for the type of thing that you want to do. What are things that are usually people think they have to buy, but that are not really required, depending on the requirements of your space. If you have water, if your carrying station is a separate place, if you don't have sunny windows and you need grow light, what type of grow light. All of those amazing things were covered in session 2. In session 3, I don't know what that is. It is what it is. That's fine. I guess for session 4, we have the same issue. So let's refresh that as well. Going back to session 3. Let's do a quick review of that. And this session, session 3, was all about managing your time. The fact that we know as educators, you are extremely busy. You have too much to cover and too much to handle. And I hear you. And this session was specifically to make sure that you have to spend the least amount of time on doing this. And I told you about how I came up to find out about this answer to this question of how do we do this with the least amount of time, and how do we manage our time with all the things that we have to cover in our classrooms. And the answer essentially is this, that we need to look at this as a learning tool. Look at our school garden or classroom garden as a learning tool rather than just something extra on top of what we have to do. It's a learning tool for the curriculum that we already have to cover. And as soon as we think about it that way, then suddenly a lot of time starts to appear, because we would be spending the same time, the same time we usually spend with our students during the day, during the instructional time that we have with them, to cover our own curriculum in a classroom garden. That's crucial. That's, if you didn't learn anything from any of these sessions and only learned one thing, I would like that to be this. And from your submissions in the for the giveaway today, I can see that you have started thinking about that, and that makes me so happy. Okay, and we also talked about how to do that. How can you actually connect your curriculum to a garden? And we had different examples of that. And we talked about a little bit of a timing in terms of when to do some of these activities. And we talked about the biggest mistake that the educators usually make, which is they go out there and they find free online, one-time, sporadic, not cohesive material, and they try to do that, and they can't succeed because it does not connect to their curriculum, and they have to then find extra time to do it. And it's not cohesive. They're not related to each other. Lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, like it's a bunch of activities that you find online, and sometimes they're very, very good, but they're not cohesive, they're not long term, and they're not connected sometimes to the season or the school schedule, or your curriculum, and it makes a huge problem for you, because you um, then have to either give up because you can't find the extra time to do it, or do very little, or do it in a way that it's not successful, and then all of that would result in, disappointment, and feeling like you spent so much time with so little result. And OSS Classroom is essentially one of the main solutions to this problem, because it is cohesive, it is a long-term plan, all the lessons relate to each other, they are connected to the seasons, they're connected to the school schedule, and they are connected to your curriculum, most importantly. Okay, and that was that session. And in session number 4, which was yesterday, we talked about what, let me bring that. We talked about what to teach, what to do, what are the activities that I suggest that you do with your students. Let me take this banner out of the way so you can see the screen better. What to grow with your students, what to avoid with your students, then what and the timing, when to grow them. Timing is so important when you're growing food, and what to do with the food that you grew at the end of the day. So I'm not going to go through them right now, because we spent the whole session talking about them. But essentially, I went through the entire timing of it, all the activities you want to do, how to find when to plant what, and we covered all of that. Okay, so that was essentially what we did. Let's go back here. Okay, throughout the week. Lots and lots of information, tons of really valuable material that came from my expertise of doing this for almost a decade with educators and students. I hope that even though this was a free workshop, I hope that you know the value of it, and you do put it into practice. Even though we went through the entire thing, but your classroom page is still going to be there at least until the end of the week, when I close next week, when I will be closing the doors to OSS Classroom. If you do want to encourage other teachers to think about this a little bit better, and maybe join the OSS Classroom together, that would be wonderful and fantastic. Invite them to go ahead and join the class, even though the class is finished, but they can still join and use the material, go through the videos, and I'm going to be sending them as they join all the workbooks and presentation decks and everything. And this is essentially, again, the link for them to join. I also sent you for the students of the class, I also sent you the this link again in the last 2 emails that I sent. And please invite your other people in your school, because, like, for example, the question that Judith had. Oh, we haven't gone through the questions yet. Sorry. Well, they're all in my mind, and that's why I was like, I just think that I talked about them, but I haven't. Well, there are some of you who are actually thinking about getting the whole school on board, and what better way to do that than inviting the other teachers in other grades into this class, so that they can, first of all, take the benefit of it, And even if you don't join the OSS classroom, they can still use the information and get something going in your school. And it's always good to have teacher, co-worker, garden buddies. It helps big time to not to be the only person doing it in the school. So invite all the other teachers to the class. This class is still open until the end of next week. Okay, so go ahead and do that. I invite you to. And okay, so if you're live and you have questions, please put them in. I'm going to go through some of the questions that I have received from you throughout the week. And I have answered to them one by one, but I would also like to um, um, give the answers here to everybody, because some of these questions might be your questions too, and you either didn't think about it or didn't get around to asking them, and this could help you as well. Okay, and if you have more questions, either email me or put them in here if you're live with me. Okay, so James is asking, enjoying the workshop very much. Thank you. He says, thank you, James, for being with us during this class. And I'm happy that you're happy. My classroom windows are facing south, but they are kind of blocked by a few trees. I remember you said the windows should not be blocked by trees. What should I do? Okay, so your classroom, first of all, doesn't have to be your caring station. So you can always look for other spaces in your school to be your caring station. You can still do the activities in your classroom, but they don't have to stay in your classroom. Obviously, it's best if you could keep them in your classroom. And just because you have a few trees doesn't necessarily mean that your caring station cannot be in your classroom. So it depends on, and I'm really happy to hear that those windows are south facing. So if they're big windows and they're south facing, that means that whatever you put in front of them would have more chance of receiving sunlight during the day. Because if it was facing east or if it was facing west, then the number of hours that your plants would get sunlight would be half of the day, right? Depending on which way they're facing. And if there were trees blocking it, east facing or west facing, then I would be a little bit more worried, because if the trees are positioned in a way that if you're east facing and all morning the trees would block, then that would not be good, right? Or west facing, the other way around. But if you're south facing, that's a good sign, because the sun actually turns, right? And if the trees are here, let's say in the morning, and the sun turns and they're blocking in the morning, and there are no trees on the other side, they're not blocking in the afternoon. So as long as you get 4 to 5 hours of direct sunlight on your plants, then you're good to go. You can still use your classroom for your caring station. Now, I don't know the specifics of how many trees we're talking about, what type of trees we're talking about. For example, if we're talking about evergreens are always green, always full of leaves, and always huge blockers, right? So those, if they're huge trees, if they're blocking the entire day, and if they are evergreen trees, then that would be a serious problem, and you would need to look at finding another space for your caring station. But if they are not evergreen trees and they have lost their leaves during the winter time, and in early spring they still wouldn't have that many leaves on them, all the way to mid-spring you're good to go. Yes, the branches are going to be blocking a little bit, depends on how big the trees are and how thick those branches are, but you would be better in a better situation if those trees are conifer trees and not evergreen trees. So it depends, right? Now, at the end of the day, you can always start putting your plants in your classroom in front of those trees and observe them. And that would be a very, very interesting, good lesson for your students, that teaches them about seasons, teaches them about sunlight, teaches them about how much sunlight the plants need. You can do all kinds of measurements on how many hours are we getting sunlight on these plants, and so on and so forth. It connects to science. It connects to so many different things. You can use it in language and math and everything. So that's the thing with classroom gardening or school gardening in general. Problems are usually very, very good triggers for amazing lessons, right? So, but at the end of the day, you do want your garden, your classroom garden, to flourish. And if they are not getting enough sunlight, they're not going to flourish. So the best thing is to observe them. And if you see that they're getting leggy, and what do I mean by that? Leggy means that you know how when the seedlings grow at the beginning, they have two little leaves. So we call them nursing leaves. If those leaves, depends a little bit on the plant too, but most of them, if they're getting enough sunlight, those two leaves appear right at the surface soil, very close to the surface soil. Okay. But if they have they're starting to get a very long stem, and the leaves, so if this is the surface of your soil and you have a long stem and the leaves are appearing towards the window, that means your plants are not getting enough sunlight and you need to move them right away. So what I suggest you to do is to have in mind another space in your school, somebody else's classroom, who's a very good colleague of yours, or I don't know, a gym or a library or an art room or the teacher's lounge. Even some principals are like, oh, bring them to my office. That's totally okay with me. They actually enjoy that. You can always look around and have another space in mind. The best place for them is to be in your classroom, but if you feel like they're not getting enough sunlight, you need to move them right away. So you have to have a plan B in mind. I hope that helps. Okay, question number 2. Nancy's asking, we got a small greenhouse at the back of our school. Yay for that. That's amazing. Which has been neglected for years. It happens a lot more than you think it would. A lot of schools have greenhouses that are not being used. And has turned into a storage for junk. Very normal. I'm planning to convince our building manager to give me some room in there for our carrying station. Way to go. That's the perfect thing to do. Greenhouses are usually built in the right spot and they get a lot of sunlight. They would be perfect for carrying station as long as there's water close by. And if water is not close by, you need to think about the tools that we talked about and bring water to your station. But usually greenhouses are built in a way that they're either close to water, access to water, or they have a sink in them. I don't know your specific situation, but have that in mind. Who knows, maybe he'll give me enough space to even do the activities in there. Maybe he does, but again, your classroom is the best place for the activities anyway. So if you didn't have enough time and enough space in there, as long as you have enough space for your carrying station, you're good to go. You can do the activities in your classroom and then transport them into the carrying station with your students and do the visits there. My question is, how much space would I need for the carrying station? Very good question. I think it was Judith who asked the similar question, and I briefly talked about this. Actually, the answer to this question all depends on how many students you have in your class, and how many gardening sessions you want to have with them, and how many of those gardening sessions are you going to actually be growing seedlings. I'm hoping you would be growing seedlings in every one of those sessions. Depends on how many, right? Remember when we were talking about tools? I showed you those buckets that I recommend for you to put the seedling cups in. Those buckets, well, if you go to the dollar store, you can find the white square ones. Those are, I think, if I'm not mistaken, like a foot by a foot. So, and every one of them get somewhere around 9 to 10 party cups for your seedlings. And if you have, let's say, 20 students, you would need 2 of those buckets every session that you grow with them, right? 2 to 3, depending on how many you have, if every one of them actually grows 1 party cup. And you put them in there and you put them in your caring station. Now, let's say that next week you have another gardening session. So let's say that, like OSS Classroom, for example, there's 15 lessons, and every time we grow. So that would be 30 of those. So that would be 30 square feet, essentially, that you would need for all of them to be there all at the same time. But that's usually not what happens. Even if you go through the entire OSS Classroom program and grow all of those plants, the things that you grow at the beginning are going to be ready to be either transplanted in your school garden if you have one, or given away or sold, or donated or whatever, as they get to a strong, like, let's say your tomatoes would get to a strong seedling when they are like 2 to 3 inches tall and they have strong leaves. You can give them away, so they will be taken out of rotation. So in general, I would say somewhere around 14 to 15 square feet of space in your caring station would be perfect, even if you grow all of the 15 lessons of OSS Classroom, for example. I hope that helps. Ninjulan, I hope I'm saying the name right. I apologize if I'm not. So she or he is asking, thank you for the workshop. You're most welcome. It helped open my eyes to the possibility of doing this work in my own classroom. As I said, if you learned one thing throughout these sessions, I would like that to be this, and that makes me so happy. So thank you for that comment. I teach a grade 3 in Toronto. Woohoo! It connects so well. Grade 3 Ontario curriculum. Oh my God, it's all about plants and planting. I can see how much it connects to my curriculum. I can see why you see that. My fear is I don't have the time to actually prepare lesson plans from scratch to teach math, for example, in my classroom garden. Any help would be appreciated. Okay, so Ninjulan, you don't need to throw away your lesson plans that you already had for example, math, and start from scratch. No way I'm suggesting you to do that. What I'm suggesting you to do is to prepare lesson plans for gardening lesson plans, just gardening lesson plans. Like, let's say that, like in OSS Classroom program, for example, we have a lesson plan for seeds, another one for soil, another one for sunlight, another one for worms and composting, another one for I don't know, soil. Did I mention soil? I don't know, water, and all of those. It's a lesson plan that talks about seeds and seedlings, only seeds and seedlings, and there's activities and hands-on work that goes with that, which is growing seeds and seedlings and all of that. So that is not a math lesson plan, okay? It is a gardening lesson plan. So as long as you have a gardening lesson plan that connects to math, so you need to prepare your lesson plans for your gardening, and then look into the curriculum expectations and the connections in math, in science, in social studies, in language, and in health, or even art, that you can actually connect to that lesson plan. So this way you would be teaching gardening, but you would also be teaching math, you would also be teaching language, you would also be teaching all these other things, and you would be, checking off your curriculum expectations for all those other things. I'm not by any means suggesting for you to go ahead and do a math / gardening lesson plan. Now, the way you can connect it to math is the solutions and the questions and the problems, essentially, that you give to your students, instead of, I don't know, counting the ratio of measurements of, I don't know, pens. you can you can do it with seeds. You can do it with, you can connect it to math that way. I hope that helps, because that would be super overwhelming, like you to completely rewrite your math lesson plans. No, absolutely not. That is not what OSS Classroom is all about, and it is not at all what I'm suggesting you to do, even if you don't join OSS Classroom. You have to have garden activities and lesson plans for gardening, and then connect those to the Ontario or wherever your school is, your curriculum expectations. Okay, I hope that helps. That is super. That was a very, very good question, and I apologize if I gave you the impression that you have to rewrite anything. No, absolutely not. OSS Classroom and this workshop, free workshop, they were here to help you, not to create more work for you. Okay, so I hope that helps. Nicole's asking, thank you for the workshop. You're very welcome, Nicole. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to me that the information you're sharing is more about growing vegetables. No, you're not wrong. It's mostly about growing vegetables. Do you have any tips or suggestions for growing a wildflower garden or butterfly garden? Okay, so a lot of the techniques that you will get in your growing activities as part of the student booklets in the OSS Classroom actually can be used for growing anything else as well. But that is a vegetable gardening program, no doubt about it. Now, generally, if you want to grow a flower garden or a butterfly garden, those are usually perennial plants. Perennial plants are, especially those things like milkweed, for example, which we all want in our butterfly gardens and wildflower gardens. Um, they need if you want to start them from seed, they need to be stratified. That they need to be in a specific environment, in a fridge or somewhere, inside soil or sand that's wet, um, for 3 to 4 months. So if you are just thinking about doing that this spring, right now, it's a little bit late for doing the stratification with the seeds. So I would suggest you either come up with a lesson plan quickly and do the stratification of those seeds, get the seeds and do the stratifications right away, right now, like this week, last week, essentially. Or you put that in your plans to do that next winter with your students, so that you can start them from seed the spring after. And if you want to do that this spring, I seriously suggest that you go and purchase seedlings, because you essentially don't have a lot of time to do seed stratification and all that. And to do it quickly, purchasing seedlings would be the best thing to do. That's my very overall suggestion about that. I hope that helps. Okay, so Marianne is asking, if you were to choose only 5 plants with your students, which 5 would you choose? I can't choose, Marianne. There's no way I can choose only 5. I love all of those plants. Well, okay. So I would start with, okay, in a classroom garden, the best plants, in my opinion, are the ones that are fast. They are fast growing. They are very empowering. They're very exciting. Your students can actually see them grow. So I would go with the 5 fast maturing plants that I mentioned, I think, in one of the presentations during the week as well. They are leaf lettuce, spinach, radish, arugula, and mustard green. These 5 would be the 5 that I would go for if I was after, getting there quickly and empowering my students very quickly. But there are also other plants. See, I can't just choose 5. Don't make me do that. There are other plants that are very exciting too. There are those things like kale and Swiss chard that give you food forever and ever. And those herbs are also very exciting. And oh my God, do you not want to grow edible flowers with your students? Are you kidding me? Those marigolds and nasturtiums, are you not going to have those? And are you not going to have the three sisters plants, the bean squash, and how are you going? Are you not going to do indigenous studies? You are growing a garden. How on earth would you not do the three sisters in indigenous studies? So yeah, I cannot choose five, but I would go um, at least with one of these um, five fast maturing vegetables that I told you. The three sisters plants that would give us four, and then an edible flower. And if you let me add another one, I would add a herb to that too. But again, you want the Swiss chards and the kales too, right? so that would be my answer. I hope that helps. That's very difficult. That was a difficult question. But thank you for asking me. It was an interesting one. Okay, so now we are getting into, I have 4 questions that are related to OSS Classroom, and I'm going to read through them very quickly, and then I'm going to use those as a segue to go into the OSS Classroom page, registration page. Well, registration is not open yet, but it would be in that page when we do open it. And then try to answer these questions while I am telling you all about the program. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so Judith is asking, I am really enjoying these workshops. Thank you. I'm happy to hear that, Judith. I'm hoping to get my whole school on board. Yay, let's do that. Call me, Judith. Send me an email. Let's get everybody on board. Okay, I will be preparing a proposal for my school's next parent council meeting in hopes of getting some funding. Very good. For everybody else who's listening, your parent council could be a very good source of funding. Let me tell you a very quick story. We don't have a lot of time, but this is an exciting story. The very beginning of my work in schools in 2013, when I first got started, I started an after-school program in a private school. It's a very humble, little, small beginning, but it's almost a decade ago. So we can talk about it now. And what got me going was the fact that, so this was an after-school program, and these were, they had, this school had, ballet and computer programming and, I don't know, sports, after school programs like that, chess, things like that. And so I went to them and I said, hey, I can offer an after school program for gardening. They thought this was a brilliant idea, but they said, okay, so we offer it to parents, and if they pay for it and they want their kids in the program, we will do it. If not, then we won't do it. So as soon as we put that in and that email was sent out, in a matter of 48 hours, we got into full enrollment and we opened up a wait list. Parents love the idea of having a school garden or a classroom garden or gardening in any way in the classroom. They just love it. So if you take something like this to your parent council, I assure you that they're going to love it and they're going to be very encouraging. And if they do have funding, they will make it available to you. Now, so all of you have that in mind, because usually when we're thinking about finding funding for bringing programs like OSS Classroom, the first thing that we think about is grants. And grants are a lot of work. They're good, but they're not given to everybody. And, filling out the application forms, like I was talking to a teacher, he was released to do a grant, and it took him and another teacher, so the principal had to release 2 of them for an entire day, and it took them 9 hours that day to fill out the application for that grant. in my opinion, waste of time. And a lot of these grants come with strings attached, and they're not easy. Okay, so they're good. They're very good source of money for programs like this, and we do appreciate them. And a lot of my programs have been funded by these grants, so I'm not saying they're bad or anything like that. I'm just saying they're all work, and sometimes just your parents are a much better and easier source of funding because they just love to have something like this in their school. Anyway, so I go on a tangent on this, but I had to share this. So she's saying later, do you have a list of books that you recommend for our library, both for our students and the teachers? We are a K-6 school. I would love to have a small library at the caring station. What a brilliant idea, Judith. Thank you. Everybody else, this is an idea to steal. Go right ahead. I give you permission on behalf of Judith. Brilliant idea. Yes, let's do that, as well as the a board to post any observations in student work. Another brilliant idea. So I am so excited to get this started. I am excited for you, Judith. Yes, I have a list of books to recommend. They actually come as a bonus to the OSS Classroom program. Yes, I have a list of books for you. And what was the other thing here? And when you say a board to post any observations or student work, when I'm talking about OSS Classroom, I'm going to tell you each one of the lessons, these 15 lessons, 15 weeks, comes with a student booklet. And these student booklets are designed for, recording. They have journals and recording observations and reflections and things like that as well. And this is a brilliant idea to actually share some of those with everybody on a board in your caring station. Okay, and we're going to talk about the OSS Classroom, and you're going to see. I hope that helps a little bit, but we're going to talk about OSS Classroom. Okay, so Candace is asking, I am planning to go a small garden with my kindergarten class in New Jersey. That's a brilliant idea. Let's do that. I see your video program and I have signed up. Please tell me the details of how to access the 15-week program after the videos and what's the cost required. We will be talking about that, but I have to warn you, Candace, what OSS Classroom that we're opening doors to this Monday and closing doors to on Friday is for grades 3 to 8. But don't worry, because I have another program that I'm opening doors to right away after that, the week after that, for kindergarten to grade 2. Okay. There are many reasons that we need 2 separate programs for these for these 2 categories of grades. I can talk about that maybe in another day, but trust me, they need different type of material, mainly because kindergarten to grade 2 are not very fluent in reading and writing. A lot of the connections in their curriculum has to be happening in a different way. It's more like, anyway, so I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, what I'm talking about today is for grades 3 to 8. And then the week after that, there's going to be another program coming up. And that's for grades, for these grades, for the kindergarten to grade 2. Okay, Matthew is asking, we are a Platinum Eco School in the YRDSB board. Very nice. Would OSS Classroom help us with our Eco School application? Absolutely, it does. That's a very quick answer to give you. Absolutely, it does. Throughout the past decade, most of our schools, the ones that cared about Eco Schools rating and all of that, used our program immensely in their Eco Schools applications. We are very good friends, and I am a TDSB educational partner. I have friends in Eco Schools, TDSB Eco Schools Toronto, YRDSB Eco Schools Canada. They know all about my programs and they are very supportive of it. And yes, you can use it for your Eco Schools application. Okay, Tracy is asking, we've applied for and received a grant for a school garden. Yay for that, that's amazing. The grant requires some very specific criteria for the way we spend the money and the things we spend the money on. Of course, they want to make sure that you're using the grant for the purpose of what you applied for. A lot of these grants do come with a lot of strings attached, and this is not the first time I'm hearing it. It's very normal. I need to know the cost. We'll talk about that. And also what's in the OSS Classroom program. We will talk about that as well, to see if you can use the grant for this. Okay, very nice. And that was the last question that I have received about the program. I think that's a very beautiful segue in for us to start talking about the OSS Classroom. So let me bring up that page on my screen. My computer's slow for some reason. And let me share that with you. Not like that, like that. And let me get a sip of water. If you have any questions, by the way, and you're live with me, put them down. And if there are any questions that come up for you while I'm talking about the OSS Classroom, either put them down. If you're watching on the recording, email me, leila.m@kidsgrowingcity.ca. Let's put that up again while I refresh my throat a little bit. Okay, ready? Let's talk about OSS Classroom. Okay, so this is the wait page for the OSS Classroom. We haven't opened the doors yet, but we will be opening the doors right here. So there will be buttons to, pay for the program and all of that. If your school is a school that doesn't, you can't just, use a credit card to buy this program, and a lot of local schools here in Ontario are like that, especially public schools. You need a purchase order, PO, and invoicing and all of that. And just email me, leila.m@kidsgrowingcity.ca, and we get you registered through the proper channels and all of that. But there will be buttons on this page when we open the doors for my US audience and whoever else who wants to do that. Even if you're in the US and you want to go through invoicing, just let me know and we can get that done. Now, let me tell you a little bit about, I have told you just a little bit, but I do want you to know this, that I've been doing this since 2013, and it started, as I just told you the story, with a very humble beginning of an after-school program in a private school. But my obsession has been this question: what is the most effective way to teach elementary curriculum outdoors or even indoors using gardens as an authentic learning tool? And after almost a decade of working with educators, running programs in all kinds of sorts of ways, in school, after school, lunchtime, everything you can imagine, I've done it. And getting feedback about my programs, fine-tuning my programs, and doing different types of programs, and researching. My master's degree research was about the obstacles and solutions to school gardening in Ontario. After doing all of that work, I think that we are getting very, very close to something that's amazing. And OSS Classroom is one of those programs that is really close to answering that question. Like, nothing is perfect, but this is a very good one. Before COVID in 2019, we helped 15 schools grow amazing school gardens with an in-school program during the day that was thoroughly connected to the curriculum expectations. None of those educators that we worked with had to spend 1 minute in lunchtime or after school out of their own time. It was all done in their classroom because it was thoroughly connected to their curriculum we were allowed to do that. And some of these schools that throughout the years we've worked with, just for you to know, are these schools that I'm naming over here. Some of them are private schools, most of them are public schools. And you can just call them and ask around and see if they're happy with us. The issue with public schools is that teachers move around, and the principals especially move around, but some of them, like for example Wyndham Ridge Public School, just call the principal. She's been there and she's still there. She could tell you how amazing this program is. I have asked her, and she's okay with me referring you to her. Ask around, and you'll know that we know what we're doing. It's important for you to know this, because if you want to join a program, you want to know you need to know the value of it, and this is a very valuable program. Now, OSS Classroom, as I mentioned very quickly, it's for grade 3 to 8, but there's another program that I'm opening doors to the week after OSS Classroom for kindergarten to grade 2. But today we're going to talk about OSS Classroom, which is grade 3 to 8. If it's good for your Eco-Schools rating, it's good for your STEM program, it's good for your, I see some comments coming in. It's good for your, it's very, very, very curriculum rich. It's logistically flexible. It connects to Indigenous learning. It's online friendly. And it's conducive to environmental stewardship, very much so, as you can imagine, and much, much more. Now, what's in the OSS Classroom program? It's a very curriculum-rich program. It's 15 lessons, and there is a package for the teacher for every one of the 15, and there's a package for the student. There's a student booklet. In the package for the teacher, there's a lesson plan, a complete lesson plan. There is a poster that goes with the lesson plan. You can either print the poster, or we can print it for you and deliver it to you, or you can actually put it on your board during the session when you're teaching the lesson. These are very, very fun looking, wonderful posters that we have built together with a very experienced teacher. There is a material checklist. The material checklist will be released to you 2 weeks before there's time to do that lesson, which gives you the chance to go ahead and buy them. But we've talked about the tools, and you know what you need, essentially. You're not going to need a lot more than that, at least for the basics of growing your plants. There's a curriculum connection checklist for every one of those 15 lessons for every one of the grades 3 to 8. There is online access to digital formats of all of those, as well as your student booklets. And there's coaching sessions that you can have with me and with Patrick Williamson, which is the teacher who has helped us to connect our lesson plans to Ontario curriculum. He's very, very experienced. He's a senior teacher. He's been teaching in different grades in elementary school in TDSB for a gazillion years now. Patrick, if you're watching this, I'm making you old, man. But the truth is that he's very experienced. And he's going to have him and me for your growing questions, and him for your teaching questions and curriculum connection questions by your side in coaching sessions. And I think that's very, very valuable for you. And then for each one of the 15 lessons, you will also have, your students will get a booklet that includes a lesson page, step-by-step growing activity guide. You practice word games and things like that, a self-assessment sheet, a journal sheet, and much, much more different things that are extra in those booklets, depending on which lesson we have some extra surprises and things like that. Now on this page, which I'm going to be sending the link to this page to all of you, let me actually put that on the screen. So it's kidsgrowingcity.ca, which is our website, /Oasis Classroom Wait. And it says wait because we still haven't opened the doors to it. But if you go to our website, actually at the very top, there's a menu that says OSS Classroom that takes you to this page as well. So, and you can click on every one of these and see an example of, so this actually is not an example. It is the Ontario curriculum connection that we have with all of our 15 lessons. So if you click on this, it actually opens it up for you as a download. And it's an Excel spreadsheet with all the curriculum connections. It's taking my computer slow. Okay, here we are. Let's open that up and let's bring it over to this screen so that you can see. So every one of the lessons, grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, grade 6, in math, in language, in science, in social studies, in phys ed, all of it is here, okay? So all the curriculum connections are here. You don't have to have the program. You don't have to purchase the program to have this. And this is actually good. You can it gives you hints, gives you ideas. And I'm totally fine with that. Steal these ideas if you couldn't join us and use them. It's yours. Okay. So now there is a seed and seedlings lesson plan. This is a sample lesson plan, and this is a copyrighted material. Please don't use this in your classroom. This actually does belong to Kids Growing City, and it's part of the program. Some people are paying for this, and it's not fair for you to use it without permission, and the permission would be joining the OSS Classroom program. But this gives you an idea of what it is, what kind of lesson plans we are talking about here. And this the third one is an example of the poster that gives you an idea of what type of posters we are talking about that you would be receiving in the OSS Classroom program. The next one is a sample of a growing activity guide, which would be in your student booklets. Very fun, very colorful, with lots of points to stimulate their minds about the topic at hand and the activity that they're doing. So you can go ahead and check those out. This is a very curriculum-rich program. So, and this is essentially all the lessons that we have in the program. And all the things that we would be growing, you would be growing with your students if you join the program. So we would be growing sprouts and microgreens, seeds and seedlings would be growing arugula, tomato, marigolds, lettuce, radish, Swiss chards, cilantro and parsley, and every one of these is matched with a lesson about equinox and spring, about soil, about water, about edible parts of plants, worms and composting, hardening off and transplanting. For those of you who do have school gardens, there are even lessons in here that can help you with that. But you can also do transplanting into bigger pots with this lesson, and sell those pots and things like that. You can even in your classroom you can use that lesson. Beneficial animals and insects, biodiversity, indigenous ways of life. We have sunlight, herbs, trees, plant communications, harvest and celebration at the end of the day. And even in the last week, we're still planting seeds, which would be pumpkins. It's a very rich program. It gives you, and all those lesson plans are going to come with the program. So you don't need to think about anything. You don't need to come up with anything. You don't need to dust off your old lesson plans and try to connect them to this. And it comes with activity guides. It tells you exactly what to do and how to do it and when to do it. All the thinking and all the problems that you would have if you didn't have this program and you had to come up with them yourselves would be out of the way. It's there to help you. It's very logistically flexible because it's a classroom gardening program, not a school gardening program. So It is not necessary to have a school garden. You can do it in almost any classroom. As we talked about spaces, if you can find spaces that have enough sunlight, essentially you're good to go, right? And it's logistically flexible because for Ontario schools, we actually have two add-ons to the program, which helps you because we would physically deliver to you the printouts of the educational material, or the printout or the supplies, all the organic seed, organic soil, all the pots and containers, and all the craft material for all the lessons that are not just about growing seedlings. Everything we can deliver to you. And if we're not delivering to you, you would have a list of materials. You would receive the list of materials at least 2 weeks beforehand, which gives you enough time to go ahead and purchase your materials. We're making it as logistically flexible and doable as possible for you. And then you would have a package for every lesson for teachers, and a booklet for your students, which makes teaching this very, very easy for you. As I said, we can even deliver supplies to you. And if there's no outdoor gardens, you don't have to worry about it. It's online friendly, so as long as you send home the material with your students when school schools shut down. Hopefully they won't shut down again, but if they do, you can just send the material with your students home, and you can also teach your online students. So if you're in a hybrid program in YRDSP, for example, and you do have students that are online, they don't have to be left out of this, because all the material is online in PDF formats. Your student booklets are also available that you can share with your students, and you can teach it online as you're teaching anything else to your students. And as long as your students have the material that's sent home to them, they can come to your school and pick up the material at once, and then you can go through it. If schools all open up and there's no hybrid learning or online learning, they just bring the material back to school, just like they're doing with their laptops that they borrow from school and all of that. You've been doing this for 2 years now. There's a little bit of logistics going on, but it is very online friendly. Nobody will be left out, and that's very, very important to me, and I'm sure that it is to you. Now, before I talk about the costs to the program, I would like to bring your attention to what's your alternative if you don't come and get this program, purchase this program. For your principals, if you're a principal and you're watching this, this is what it would cost you to develop a program as rich as this program. And there is all the reasonings behind it. And so I'm not just coming up with these numbers. If you're a principal, you've done this before. You've released teachers to do work for you. You know how much it's going to cost you. And there's 15 lessons. This is how much it's going to cost you to develop just the lesson plans. And then there's posters that you would be developing, and they're done for you, and it's going to cost you just $12,000 just to do the posters. It's going to cost you, if you put all of that together, it is a $24,000 cost for you to develop a program similar to this. And you have to have teachers developing these programs who have experience growing food in schools, and not that many teachers have that experience. This is my expertise. I've been doing this, living and breathing school and classroom gardens for almost a decade. The experience that goes to this is invaluable and cannot be purchased with money. And I'm giving all that to you. If you don't want to develop a program like this, and then if you're a teacher and you're looking at this and you want to do this in your classroom, yes, the free workshop helps, and I really hope that it helps, because that was the entire purpose of this. yes, you can do some of these things, and it's better to do them, you know, than do nothing. But you won't have somebody like me or Patrick to be beside you, side by side, to answer all your questions. What if they don't grow well? What if I have a question what if pest comes up? What if all of those issues? It's going to take you years and years and years. It has taken me, who've been just doing this almost a decade, to get it to know exactly what to do and what not to do, what to avoid and what not to avoid. And you're going to have me, and you're going to have an entire lesson plan and poster package completely built for you at your fingertips, so that you don't have to worry about this. And to those really dedicated teachers who are willing to do a work that's supposed to cost $24,000 for free, that's not fair to me. That's not fair to you. I've been doing this for almost a decade. In the past 2 years, we haven't been able to run any programs in any schools. Um, and it has gotten to a point that we really had tough times. Now I'm not going to stay in this statement for a very long time, because I know that we all had tough times. I know that teachers, oh my God, teachers, you are my heroes during this COVID time. It's been tough. It's been tough on teachers, on students, on principals, on school boards, on everybody, on every one of us. It's been tough. We've gone through it. But for vendors like me, it's been hell, because all the income that's been coming through these programs came down to zero. And if you're thinking about doing this for your school for free, I would like to encourage you to think about that. How ethical is that? And how much of your and that's another thing, how much of your personal time are you willing to sacrifice to do so much work, because this is a lot of work. And how many years are you willing to let that be, until you get to a point that you know exactly what to do and what and not to do, and have this type of thing going on, right? So that wouldn't be fair to me. That wouldn't be fair to you. It would not be fair to your students. And at the end of the day, it is that's what matters. Your students are the ones that matter, who matter, right? So if you can find the funding to purchase OSS Classroom for your school, I encourage you to do that. It's going to save you ton of time, ton of effort, tons of heartache in having to deal with issues you don't know how to deal with, preparing lesson plans and connecting it to Ontario curriculum and all of that, or any curriculum and all of that good stuff. Okay, so let's go back. Oh, let's do it, sorry, this way. All right, so how much does the OSS classroom program cost you? Well, it's definitely not going to cost you $24,000. The full we have now. So we have created a tiered program that starts with thousands of dollars and goes all the way to a few hundred, around $500, right? So that everybody can participate, depend with different situations and different budgets. We do want this to be accessible. Okay, so there's a full online and there's a 5 lesson. So you can choose to go with the entire 15 lessons for a lifetime access, lifetime school license, which means you would have these 15 lessons. You would be able to, you would have access to them, and you would be able to teach it in your entire school. All of the teachers in your entire school would have the license to use this forever, for the lifetime of the school. Means this year, next year, the year after that, the year after that, the year after that. So This is the ultimate thing that, and if you have the budget for this one, I would really encourage you to go for it. Now, we do have another lifetime access for only 5 lessons. So that would be you choose 5 lessons out of the 15 lessons, and it's your choice. And those 5 lessons, your entire school would have access to those 5 lessons forever. So you can use them. Everybody, all the teachers in your school forever can use them year after year after year after year. So the cost to the full lifetime access is only $4,975, which is really cheap considering the fact that you would be like all of your classrooms forever can use this program. And you don't have to, go after budgets and find, money every year for a program like this. So I do encourage you to go for it if you have the budget for it. And if you have the budget only for 5 lessons, but again for lifetime access, and the cost for that is $1,750. Now, you might be saying, okay, yeah, that sounds amazing, but I haven't tried this program before. I don't know if I want to pay almost $5,000 for a program that might not even work, right? Well, I can guarantee that it works, but of course, you can try. You should be able to try it for yourself for at least only 1 year and see if you want to join the lifetime one next year. And for those of you who are thinking that, we have another tiers of programs for smaller budgets or for those who do want to only try this for 1 year. The full 1 year, 1 class license and the 5 lesson 1 year, 1 class license. I hope I'm not confusing you. Well, I will send you the link to this, and you will be able to go through it and see for yourself and share it with whoever you need to share it with. So the 1 year for the entire 15 lessons package is $1,500, and for only 5 lessons is $550 for one teacher, one classroom to try only 5 lessons, and the 5 lessons are the 5 lessons of your choice. And of course, we will be opening registration on the 24th to the 28th. Okay, now you might be thinking, okay, it's all sounds good. What about supplies and materials? So how am I supposed to, go and buy, soil and seeds, and which ones am I going to need to buy? We did talk about tools. You really don't need that many complicated tools to go after usually. But for the Greater Toronto Area schools who are close to us and we can deliver to, we have 2 add-on programs. And these add-ons, you can add them for 5 lessons, for lifetime 5 lessons, for 1 year 5 lessons, or for the 15 lifetime or 1 year, which you can add these onto any of the tiers that you choose to. And one of them is the supplies. That would be organic seeds, organic soil, all the buckets and everything, and all the craft material for, all the different lessons. We do have some experimental tools like water filters and, soil tests, things like that are tools that for specific lessons. All of those would be included in this delivery. And the printed add-on is for printouts are your lesson plans and especially student booklets. If you want to give them a physical version of it, your posters, like big beautiful posters for your classroom, and everything, all the educational material would be printed for you. And this is the cost to it. Now the cost for this, this is not going to be profit for us. Trust me when I say we are a strictly educational organization. We do not sell physical products. We do not sell soil and seeds and things like that. all we're going to do is to go to the sources that we know and we trust and we've worked with for years and years and years, purchase it essentially from them, package it for you. So this would be time and material for us, with a little bit of a contingency, just to make sure that we're not, you know, paying out of pocket for these. And honestly, this is the first time that we're doing something like that. Yes, we've been purchasing these material for our school garden programs for us to go in schools and do them. So we have an idea of how much it's going to cost, but we've never packaged them for schools to deliver. Essentially, we don't know. We might be actually paying out of pocket for these. So I do encourage you, but it's okay even if you're paying out of pocket. I'm not going to come back to you and say, oh, you know what, it cost me a little more. Can you give me more money? No way I'm going to do that. This is the cost you're going to pay for. And if I miscalculated it and it cost me more money, then it's my problem to deal with. You don't need to worry about that. Okay. But I do encourage you to please go ahead and think about your own resources and see if you if there are, you know, places that you can go and purchase, like TDSB, for example. I know that you have printing options, you have printing facilities that your principals have access to, and the printing in your printing facilities is going to cost you a lot less than paying for the printed version. It does take time. You do have to request it ahead of time, and there's a little bit of logistics going on that you have to make sure that you act fast and all that, but it's not going to cost you much. So your principals might be having resources, if they're resourceful, and most of them are, for you to purchase your products, as well as print your material. So I do encourage you to think about that. But if you don't want to worry about it, we're here to deliver to you if you are in the Greater Toronto area. If you're in somewhere else in Ontario and would still like to have these packages delivered to you, then we can talk about it, negotiate it, and see how much it's going to cost us to ship them to you. And we would add the shipping cost to it and send them to you. Okay, we're almost there. There are two very amazing bonuses that I wanted to talk to you about as well. The coaching bonus. I personally think this is the most valuable part of this program, and it comes free on top of the program. I'm going to be there for your growing questions. We are going to determine together how we're going to have those coaching sessions. If you want to have them weekly, if we want to have them every 2 weeks, if you want to have them, how do we want to have them? You have my email address. You can ask me email address. I will answer your questions, growing questions, within 48 hours. I'm going to be there side by side if you have any growing questions. And Patrick Williamson, my very, very good friend, who has ran our program in his school in 2019, and since then we've been working together, and he's been putting a lot of his personal time after school, after hours, into helping me putting together the curriculum connections of my lesson plans to Ontario School and all of that. He will be there side by side with you as well, and he would help you with your curriculum connection questions and your teaching questions. And the second bonus is the reading list that Judith was asking about, and I actually had two or three other library teachers actually reached out to me, and they were asking about reading lists for gardening. And I know that this is very, very valuable bonus. It comes for free on top of the program. There's 6 lists of books for every grade 3 to 8, that you can go ahead and purchase and utilize for your. We don't sell them, as I mentioned before. I don't sell physical products. but these are lists that you can utilize. Some of them you can find online, some of them you can find for free. Some of them are available in libraries, and you might have budget for books. And so we will give you those lists of reading lists that would enhance the program, and it would deepen the learning for your students, and it would create a lot of school-wide community around your um, your classroom gardening. And it would be amazing, as Judith was suggesting and was thinking to do, to have these books actually available at your caring stations. And that would be amazing for your community. Now the schedule is that we're going to be opening the doors for registration. You're going to have 1 week to register for the program, but here's the thing. I know that with schools and finding funding and things like that, it's not that easy, right? The reason I am closing the doors at that time, at the end of the week, is that the promises that I'm making to you, if you join the program, and if you take the add-ons, for example, we need time to put together the material to send to you in time for those lessons to happen right on time. This is about gardening. As I mentioned in the free class, timing is really, really important. It's not like we can wait until June to, well, not June, like May, let's say, to plant those tomatoes. It would be way too late for them. This is a timing thing, and everything is connected and it's cohesive. We have to start at certain time. You do want me to know who's in the program, so that for those who are in the program, I am sending the materials list 2 weeks beforehand, so that you have time to go and purchase these. The program starts the 3rd week of February. It's not a lot of time. It's only 3 weeks between when I'm closing the doors and the time that we will actually start, all of us, the program together. Now, there are some leeways to this too. So if I close the doors, but you were still thinking about, trying to find the budget and things like that, your school council meeting was a little bit later, or for whatever reason, you found the budget and you wanted to join the program midway, as long as you don't want to order the add-ons, the print add-ons, and the um, supplies, and as long as you are not going for the full program, you are going for the 5-lesson program, and those 5 lessons are in the future. Whenever you want to join the program, there are ways that I can let you in. Okay, so I don't want you to get discouraged and say, oh, I only have 1 week time, and there's no way I can find the budget for it during the 1 week. I know how it goes. I know how busy everybody is, and I know how difficult it is to find funding. I'm here for you. Just keep in touch, okay? Keep in touch, and we can always find a solution to let you in the program. So don't worry too much about it, but get into action. Get into action into convincing people to come and join us. Now, there is this link on that page that you can book a Zoom appointment with me. Please go ahead and do that. You can invite your principal, your superintendent, your school council, parents, representatives, your students' representatives, anybody that you would like to convince for joining the program. You can invite to those Zoom. I can answer all those questions for you. Next week is all I'm dedicated to this only. After family, this is my life for the next week. So book those appointments. Let's talk. Let's see how I can help you, and let's see how we can grow together in the OSS Classroom program. So the 3rd week of February is when we're going to be starting, and it goes for 15 weeks to the end of May. And if you choose the 5-lesson tier program, whichever 5 lessons you chose, the material is going to be released to you with everybody else. So let's say that there's a school that's going to through all the 15 lessons. The lessons will be released to them 2 weeks before lesson 1, which would be the first week of February, lesson 2, lesson 3, all the way down. And if you chose lesson 5 and lesson 6 and lesson 7, those lessons will be released to you 2 weeks before the time for those lessons come with everybody else. Okay, how to participate is, I know that just let me know. There will be buttons on this that you can purchase the program, different tiers of the program with a credit card. But if you need a purchase order or anything like that, let's talk, okay? And let's get that going. And all you need to bring is a classroom or a space that has 4 to 5 hours of sunlight, and at least one enthusiastic teacher who wants to teach this program in the school. That's all you need. Everything else will be given to you. You don't need to worry about anything at all other than, going ahead and finding the budget for the program. So hopefully you can do that. If you have any questions, and there's an FAQ section at the bottom of the of this as well. Now, if you have any questions or comments, please put them in. And email me. Let me put my email up there again. LeilaM@kidsgrowingcity.ca. And that concludes the discussion about what is this OSS Classroom program and how much does it cost and how can this help me. I hope that helps. And I hope that I would be so honored if you can join me. And this is again the link to it, but you can also go to OSS to kidsgrowingcity.ca, and at the top there is a menu button. I'm going to actually put it on the main page as well as soon as I open the doors to it. So there's different ways you can find this page. Please share it with everybody, and I hope that I can see you in the program. Now, the last but not least, the most important thing that's so exciting is for those of you who did submit your homework for the giveaway. I have very, very good news, because I saw like somewhere around 10 to 15 submissions right before coming in here. But I thought to myself, and submissions are so amazing, those action items that you chose for yourselves, some of those actually you already did, and some of those you will be doing during the next week, and that would move you closer to actually doing this in your schools, even if you don't join the OSS Classroom program. It warms my heart so much. But I was also thinking, out of everybody who joined the free workshop, only 10 to 15 have submitted it. And I thought about the timing a little bit, and we only had the last session last night. And I know that you're educators, you're very busy, you have a lot going on. So I thought, instead of picking a winner out of those 10 to 15, how about I give you more time throughout the weekend, and instead of picking just one person, I am going to be giving away that activity guide lesson plan / lesson plan to everyone who enters the giveaway. To everyone who has gone through the program, has chosen those action items, and has submitted them into that Google form by end of Sunday, all of you are going to get the giveaway. Because I don't like competition. Yes, we do get excited about giveaways, and we get very happy if we win it, but then we get very sad if we don't win it, right? And I want all of you who actually put time and effort and thought into submitting your assignments to be able to be a winner in this contest or giveaway that we had. I hope that everybody loves that idea. I certainly do love that idea. So Don't worry if you didn't have the chance to do. What I want for you is to get the full advantage of this free class that we had together. And I do want you, and you won't be able to get the full benefit if you don't act, if you don't do the homework, and if you don't act on those action items that you chose for yourself. So I would like more of you to actually submit those. You have the entire weekend, and I'm going to be sending out that giveaway to all of you who submitted it on Monday. I hope that helps. I know that this was a very long session, but there were a lot of very important things to talk about, and it required for it to be long. I know that most of you will be watching this on a recording. It was my honor to work with you throughout the last week, and I really hope, and I would be more honored if you join the OSS Classroom program, and if we get to work together further, we get to know each other in person, one-on-one. I would love to be able to be your coach and help you grow amazing classroom gardens that are impressive, empowering, and wonderful. Thank you for watching. I hope we get to work together. Bye-bye.